Hey, welcome to the pre-algebra test corrections video, and I'm going to start with number 1. So if you've got a -4 and you've got a -2, it's kind of like you owe me $4, you owe somebody else $2. You put those together, you get a total debt of a -6. So your answer number 1 should be a -6. For number 2, notice here that I'm subtracting a negative number. So when you take away a negative, you are really turning that into a positive. So if I rewrite that, it becomes 3 plus 5, which means that my final answer is going to be 8. For number 3, personally, I would add the two negatives together first, get a -10 plus a -6, as we've already discussed. Two negatives added together just makes a bigger negative. So now, if I do 4 minus 16, well, I have $4, but if I take away 16, I'm going to be in debt because I don't have enough to pay that back. So that is actually going to be a -12. Number 4 asks which one will result in a positive number, and you needed to have some work to show it. So the correct answer was A, and let's explain why. So just like a minute ago, I have an example of subtracting a negative number. Well, when you take away a negative, it really becomes adding a positive. So -4 plus a +10. Imagine that you owe somebody $4 and then you use some of your money to pay them back. You'll have a +6 left over. So the answer should have been A. For number 5, it says find the product. 10 times -3 is going to be -30 because 10 times 3 is 30. When you've got one negative in there, it makes the entire product negative. For number 6, I am multiplying also. So 2 times 5 is 10, and then 10 times 2 is 20. So 2 times 5 times 2 is 20. And here I've got a negative and another negative. Two negatives cancel out to become a positive. So my final answer is a +20. For number 7, I've got a -24 divided by a -3. First of all, 24 divided by 3 is 8, and a negative divided by a negative is a +8. Number 8 asks you, which of the following will result in a negative number? Well, here we're dividing a negative by a negative, so that's going to turn out to be a positive. Here, I only have one negative when I'm multiplying those three numbers together. So -7 times 10 is -70, times a +2 is -140. So there is my negative number. But just to make sure, here again we have a negative divided by a negative, which would make a positive. And here those two negatives are going to cancel out to also become a positive. So since we're looking for a negative number, the only option is option B. Okay, for number 9, to find the perimeter of the shape. If the left-hand side is 4, that means this side has to be 4. And if that's 9, then that is 9. So I'm just going to add all 4 sides together, which is going to give me 26. And I need to remember my units. It's going to be 26 centimeters, not centimeters squared, because centimeters squared would be area. And right now I'm just finding perimeter. Now I am going to find the area, though, to fill in the next blank. So the area for a rectangle is base times height. If that's 9, then I know that that is 9, so the base is 9. The height is 4. 9 times 4 is 36. Now I need to use those square units because I'm finding area. For number 10, I'm going to find the perimeter. So I've got 8 plus 8 plus 20, which is equal to 36. This 6 right there inside, that is not part of the perimeter. This is just showing you how tall the triangle is. Remember that the perimeter is only the outside of the shape. So that is why I just add, oops, I lost my problem. There we go. So that's why I'm just going to do 20 plus 8 plus 8 because those are only the ones on the outside. And then I need to remember my units. So it's going to be 36 inches. Then I need to find my area. And man, we had a lot of mistakes for this one. Okay, so for the triangle, you do your base times the height. So you do 20 times 6. But a lot of you left it as is and just left it as 120. Remember, for a triangle, the formula is 1/2 times base times height. So you do 1/2 times 20 times 6, which doesn't give you 120. You cut it in half to get 60. And then don't forget about those inches squared. For number 11, the first thing I need to do is find the perimeter. And because of this, I know that all the sides are congruent. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 means that my perimeter is going to be 20 centimeters. And then my area is simply going to be base times height. So 5 times 5, which is 25 centimeters squared. Then last but not least, remember that a parallelogram is really just a rectangle that's kind of been smushed, okay? So to find the perimeter, I still do it the same way that I would a rectangle. If this side is 7, then that side is 7. If that side is 8, then that side is 8. So if I add together 8 plus 7 plus 8 plus 7, I get a perimeter of 30 centimeters. And then just like a rectangle, I simply do base times height. So I've got 8 times 4, which is 32. Remember that 7 is just there as a distractor when it comes to the area. And because it's area again, it's centimeters squared.